seriously, I hate like this era of Thomas for literally the biggest reason was the no brake fans. That always pissed me off.
Thomas thinks no engine works as hard as he does. He loves playing. Edward played till there were no more freight cars. Then he stopped to rest in the yard. Percy soon learned what he had to do, and they had a happy afternoon. Next, Edward took some empty cars to the quarry. Percy was left alone. He didn't mind that.
It doesn't look like a steam engine at all. He takes freight cars from farms and villages to the main line and is cheerful to everyone he meets.
The children came every day for 2 weeks. Sometimes they rode with the conductor, sometimes in... "Come again soon," replied Toby. We will, called the children. There's a line to a quarry at the end of Thomas's branch. It goes for some distance along the road. Toby made the silly cars behave even better than Thomas did. Frightened the policeman, they've been firm friends ever since. Thomas left the coaches at the station and went off to a mine for some cars. Long ago, Thomas, those buffers don't look very safe to me. Percy worked hard at the new harbor. The workmen needed stone for their building. Toby helped, but some to her, and was most indignant. Freight cars are filled with china clay. It is needed for pottery, paper, paint, and many other things. Engines are now kept busy pulling the cars for engines on the main... One morning, they arranged some cars and went away for more. Time further on. All the same, he and his driver decided to start home early. Then came... Duck took some freight cars to Edward's station. "Hello," called Edward. Not even a quack. Duck and Percy enjoy their work at the harbor, pulling and pushing cars full of... It's your freight cars next. Thomas returned with the freight cars and pulling them into place. They reached the level crossing and Toby's brakes came on. This was the signal for the freight cars. "On, on," they yelled. Toby was away, with the cars screaming and yelling behind him. His driver fought for control. They came nearer and nearer to the bridge. It was all or nothing now. Percy and Duck like working at the harbor by the sea. Percy puffed backwards and forwards with the crates of cargo as they are loaded and unloaded by the quayside. Talking about the regatta all day. Percy lost. The twins were soon busy pushing and pulling the heavy cars into... Later, Edward spoke to Douglas. "Trevor and I are old." One morning, Bill and Ben were busy at the quarry pushing and pulling cars filled with clay. "I'll have to go fast to get there in time. Those big engines are so unreliable."
They worked with Duke on his old railway, but Falcon still... There wasn't time to examine him, so some of his cars were coupled behind Peter Sam's coaches. Rusty promised to follow with the rest. Soon they reached the quarry where the cars were needed. Send Rusty packing! Send Rusty packing! Pushing cars, grumbled Henry. They stopped outside the tunnel. Oliver marshaled the worst cars 2 by 2. Henry made good progress. Duck buffered gently up to Henry's train. He was not coupled on. Percy was shunting in the yard. He didn't expect to see Toby. What are you doing back so soon? But every day, Tom travels cheerfully around the island of Sodor. He stops at stations collecting letters and parcels from Thomas and Percy's mail trains. A postman they didn't know dumped the bags on the platform. Next morning, the engines were glad to see Tom back again.
Thomas and Percy enjoy working in the docks. They like the sea air and the sound of the gulls. Duck arrived with a train of empty freight cars. And a car was stuck on the main line. He collected metal from the foundry, coal from the yards, rock from the quarries, and fuel from the depot. Them put upon, that's what I am. A little later, the fog came down. As they approached the same area, Bill and Ben, the tank engine twins, work in the clay mines and quarries near Brendam docks. Their work is important, but it can be hot and dirty. All went well as they set off. Mavis and Toby were impressed. Thomas and Percy had to take some empty freight cars to the scrap yards. The little engines were busy clearing their railroad of leaves and broken branches. One day, Rusty helped Peter Sam to a water tower. Duncan had to take coal cars to the slate mines and then bring cars back. Duncan's driver decided as part of the plan to cross the old iron bridge. "Haunted bridge! Rubbish!" snorted Duncan. "It's as tame as a pet rabbit." But all the same, he kept thinking about Rusty's story. When night fell, they set off. Duncan whistled, and the sound echoed everywhere. Rusty, the little diesel, met Thomas and Percy. Just then, Edward arrived. He was delivering a new piece of machinery for the quarry. Meanwhile, Skarloey was making his way up to the quarry. Skarloey was working the line to the slate mine in the mountains. One day, Skarloey set off to the mines with some empty cars. Skarloey had reached the ravine. That's when Sir Topham Hatt brings new engines to the island. But to Bill and Ben's surprise, the truck seemed to give Salty. Sir Topham Hatt's important job was almost done. Ben could not move the trucks the way Salty could. It's very cold, but the engines don't mind. They love this time of year when the stations look jolly in their decorations. The twins were so cross they refused to speak to each other for the rest of the day. At first, Donald enjoyed working with Duck. Then Henry pulled away as easy as pie. and he chuffed away. Often has the dirtiest work to do, but he likes to be clean as well as any other engine. Bill and Ben are quarry engines. They are twins. They play together, but it didn't work. The engines enjoy working at the They like the clever way the loaded slate is always impatient to get back to the junction. Duncan wanted everyone to work faster. The three little engines could see Duncan was not going to listen. They carefully chuffed away from the incline with their slate cars full of slate. Diesel engine who works at the quarry on the island of Sodor came to work at the quarry. They worked as hard as they could, but they missed the forests and hills. Most of all, they missed their passengers. Sir Topham Hatt came to the quarry with important news.
Fergus liked helping Mavis, but he didn't like the way the twins were behaving. Keep your funnel out of our quarry, Huff Ben. They laughed. Bill and Ben steamed back to the quarry. Soon, James set off with the Queen of Sodor. Arthur chuffed cheerfully through the countryside.
Without a Breakvan.
Toby proudly took the tree to the miller. He's very proud that the miller now calls it Toby's windmill. A new park was being built. So they left, but without the Breakvan. Fergus knows all the rules and obeys them.
The engines on the mountain railway were excited. They were helping to build it.
The engines had to travel a different way.